What's shaking, my friends? Welcome back to my channel. It is time to start another weekly reading vlog. If you don't know what I'm doing here in the month of February, I am playing a game with my book club. It's a Chutes and Ladders style game where there are a bunch of letters on a board, and as you go around the board, the object of the game is to land on connecting letters starting from A. That's how you get points. So if I land on an A, I have to read a book that either starts with an A or the author's first or last name starts with an A. Okay, so the goal of the game is to get connecting letters from A. So if I get an A, B, C, D, that's 4 points. If I get an A and a Y, that's only 1 point because A and Y do not connect. So if you want to see the first week of me doing this, I will leave it up in the cards below. But just to recap, I have currently 3 points. I have A, B, and C. I did land on F and a Y, so unfortunately I had to read for F and Y. Now F may wind up getting me some points, but Y is definitely not going to get me any points because I'm not going to read enough books to string it to Y, okay? But I have 3 points for my team, which is fantastic. And let's see what I rolled next. I just finished reading for my Y book, which was fantastic, all the way at the end of the alphabet. 1. Is that a D? Y'all, I cannot believe it. I got a D. So my luck half continues because I landed on a D. So as soon as I finish reading for this prompt, I will have 4 points because I will have strung A, B, C, and D. So what I decided to read from this was a book I pulled from my jars, from my new release jars. I am reading Level Unknown by David Dalglish, and I'm about 60% into this book. And boy, am I just having a kind of experience. I don't know if it's a positive or negative experience. It's kind of like a middle of the road experience. I have never read a lit RPG novel. Never, ever, ever have I read one. So I was not really experienced in this genre. We are following our main character who lives on this planet. They're humans, but they come in contact with this alien artifact. And as soon as the alien artifact is kind of touched by their people, he immediately goes unconscious and he actually goes into this different world that is a lit RPG world. He has to level up to kind of gain powers to go through the world, and he is not quite sure, of course, where he is, what's going on. And so every time he dies, of course, he wakes back up in his world, and they think that he can kind of figure out what's going on. What is this alien artifact? Where does it come from? By kind of experimenting in the world where he goes to sleep. So he goes to sleep, he wakes up in the other world. And when he dies, he wakes back up in his world. So it's a very interesting concept. I don't know if lit RPG is going to be for me, simply because I feel like it's fine in this book, but I feel like the more that I read of it, maybe it would become repetitive. I like the story, but again, that idea of leveling up and that action to level up just to me would kind of get repetitive. I do think that this does have a good backstory in it, and we're finally meeting some characters that are adding some meat to the story. Just watching our main character level up is just not my personal jam. That's why Cradle did not work the best for me. But I'm not having a bad time. I'm just having a kind of so-so time. I'm hoping that it will pick up in the latter half of the book and I will enjoy my time more. But I will check in when I get done and we'll see what happens. So I didn't really feel like getting out my full setup. I wanted to talk to you because I finished Level Unknown by David Dalglish, and I have read David Dalglish before. I read A Bladed Faith, which I liked but didn't love and decided not to continue on in the series. But I actually ended up really enjoying the second half of this book, and this is obviously part of a series. This is the first book of what is going to be a series. And I wonder if this lit RPG and why publishers are finally starting to maybe publish traditionally lit RPGs is secondary to Dungeon Crawler Carl, which I also am interested in reading to see what all the hype is about. But I actually really enjoyed this, and I enjoyed the characters by the end of the story. I enjoyed the world building. I enjoyed kind of everything that was going on in both worlds. So overall, I gave it 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. And then I had to roll again. I'm back. We're gonna roll. That's 5. I don't think that's good for me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right? Right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. I got an M, so we'll see how that goes. So I got an M, which is not extremely ideal as far as making points. However, I pulled a pick out of my jar this month, and it is the week of Valentine's Day. So I decided to read A Not So Meet Cute by Megan Quinn. I am 50% in as we speak. And let me just tell you that the last Megan Quinn book that I read, I DNF'd. So that did not bode well. I do think there are some very awkward moments in this book, but overall, I'm enjoying my time. This book is following our couple. It's a fake dating story. Our female main character has just been fired from her job. She doesn't want to tell her mother that she has to now continue to live with him. She kind of just wants to figure out something else to do. And then we have our male main character who is rich. He's a billionaire. He is trying to seal a deal. And this person that he's trying to seal a deal with is kind of declining his offer. So what he's going to do is he's going to try to seem like they have more in common, like they're more personable, and he tells the man he has a fiance, and his fiance is also pregnant, which is this guy's fiance is also pregnant. So he just feels like this will bring them a connection, and he will score this deal that he wants to get. And I like the banter between these two as they fake date, because each of them has, an agenda. But there are some awkward moments in here. But I will tell you that at the 50% mark, it's already gotten a little steamy. And if you know me, I am like a slow burn girly. I like a slow burn romance. It's not that I hate it if it's not slow burn, but it just doesn't hit the same as a slow burn romance. But I'm gonna keep reading, and I will check in when I get done. Okay, I finished A Not So Meet Cute, and it's gonna get 2 stars from me. This is really sad because I feel like I have DNF'd the last book that I tried to read from Megan Quinn, and now this one gets 2 stars. And I used to love Megan Quinn, and I have read probably around about 10, 11 books or so of hers, and I've enjoyed most of them. But the past 3 that I've read, because I remember I read another one that I gave 3 stars to prior to the one I DNF'd, I just haven't jived with, which is disappointing. The reason this one didn't work for me, number 1, I'm a slow burn girly, so if we go right into the spicy scenes, right into the kind of I love him kind of thing, that's not for me. And it may be for some other people, so if that's your thing, if you like spicy from beginning to end, not from beginning, but virtually short after they meet, then you may like this one. But I like a slow burn. I like the angst. I like to feel the tension. And here I just didn't. And I felt like this book was more for smut. It had a lot of smutty, spicy scenes. So if you like that, go for it. And I don't hate spicy, smutty scenes by any means, but these were cringy and also just too many spicy scenes and not enough angst. Like I didn't feel the connection between the two of them. So overall, I gave 2 stars, and then I rolled again. Okay, all right. So I was on M, and here we go, rolling again. 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, K, it is. Okay, so even though I needed to land on that E, I didn't. I landed on K, which is fine because out of my jars, A Sorceress Comes to Call by T. Kingfisher I picked that out, and I was really excited to read it, and so I went ahead and put a hold in my library, and it came in And so I am reading A Sorceress Comes to Call by Miss T. Kingfisher, and I'm only 20% in, but I am vibing with this book. It's got kind of dark gothic vibes to it. We are following basically our main female young character. I think she's 14, and obviously there's some mysterious things going on with how her mother treats her. So she is basically abused. I say abused, but she's basically in this house with her mother. Her mother doesn't allow her to do a lot of things. Sometimes she has to just stay and be quiet the whole day. She can't have doors closed. Just some weird things going on. And of course, she wants to run away from her mother, but she finds out that her mother has some sort of magical sorceress abilities, and we know that we are moving from one town to another town as her mother is going to try to convince this man, this rich man from this other town, to marry her. And so they are moving to this other town, and we know that the rich man's sister, kind of suspects that something is not right with this woman. And so we're just getting to meet the characters, just getting to meet this kind of relationship, and I'm interested in knowing what's going to happen next. It is kind of very mysterious vibes to it, but I'm liking it. So I'm going to continue to read, and I will let you know how I feel when I finish the book. Okay, let's chitty chat about A Sorceress Comes to Call. I went into this book with a lot of high expectations, and I think that's what happened to me with the story. So overall, the story is basically about this girl who has a mother who is a sorceress, and obviously the girl is controlled by her mother. The mother does some very horrendous things, and it is the story of how she comes to meet these people and take down her mother. And I just thought there wasn't enough plot to move the story forward. Half of the book I was kind of just zoning out, bored. I liked the tone of the story. It's kind of like a gothic horror. Of course, T. Kingfisher does horror well, I think, but it needed more meat to the story. And this is a very beloved book. It may be just a me thing, but again, I just thought it needed more meat, and overall I gave this book 3 stars. Then I rolled again. I was on K. And here we go. I'm going to roll again. 6, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That is going to be a V. Fantastic. And as you can see, I got V. I was so lucky early on, and now I'm not being lucky, okay? Let me just tell you what I chose to read for V, and I have already finished this book. And the reason why I did not update while I was reading this book was because I read it in a time where I could not update this vlog, and I wanted to put this book down probably the entire time I was reading it. I knew from jump that this book was not going to be for me, but I stayed the course because I know DNF is your friend, but my book club people need me to finish the book so I can move on to the next letter, okay? I'm a team player. So what I decided to read was Vanishing Girls by Lisa Reagan. This is like a 27 book detective crime mystery book. And I read this book because I own it. And the reason I own it is because I used to read a lot of these detective crime mystery books. I quickly now know why. I don't know if this is just a bad one or what, but this book, the main detective lady, first of all, is so grating and so irritating. I don't know how anybody can read 27 books of this. I think it's either 22 or 27 books. But anyway, 20-something books of this. And the story was just so outrageous that I couldn't get down with it. And so I wound up rating this one 2 stars. Will I continue on with the series? Absolutely not. But I'm happy to check off a box that says I read one of my own books. So I'm not going to talk too much more about this story. It basically followed this girl goes missing, and then they've tied this together with other girls, and we're following our main detective who's been kicked off the force or put on leave because she has assaulted somebody, and she of course is going to go meddle into the case, even though she's supposed to be on leave, and things are gonna occur. And of course, she's gonna wind up solving said case, which is a ridiculous case, by the way. So anyway, then I rolled again. So I just finished my V-book and I'm rolling again. None of the letters in front of me really excite me, but we're gonna go ahead and roll 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, that's a J. And as you can see, I got J. Now listen here. I do have a sequel, Joseph John Lee, that I need to read. It's up here. The second book to Bleeding Stone, which I pulled out of my jars. But I'm not going to be able to physically read a book at this point in my life, and I need to continue to read for the book club. So hold please while I tell you what I'm going to read. Whew! I am back. I am going to continue on in a series, and that is going to be The First Ancestor by JDL Roselle. I read the first book in this series about a year ago for SPPO 9, and I loved it so much, which is The Last Ranger, and I loved it so much I went out and purchased, and at this point the third book is also out now, but I went out and purchased the first two books in the series that were out at the time, and I'm looking forward to diving into this second book. I love the first one so much, and so I haven't started yet, but when I get some ways in, I will check back in. Alright, let's chat. So the last time I talked to you, I was planning on reading The First Ancestor by JDL Roselle for my J book. However, here's what happened. I read a recap. JDL puts a great recap on his website of his books, and so I read a recap of The Last Ranger, and I realized that I did not really remember this book that much, and I did not want to give the second book a disservice. So this year we're trying to do series, and I have resigned myself to, if I don't remember the first book and I really want to continue on in the series, I'm going to reread the first book. So that's what I did. So instead of reading the second book in the series, I reread this book, and it's been about a year since I've read it. I can't remember when exactly I read it, but I absolutely positively again adored this book. We are following our main character Leyen, who is a ranger of the Titan Wilds. She protects her village and her people from these beasts that inhabit this forest, and she is coming back from a mission and comes back and sees her village has been basically destroyed and all of her people have been killed. And so it's her revenge story. A lot of people get frustrated with Leyen because she is very naive and she does some stupid things in the beginning of the book. But I think part of the book is seeing her grow. She's a very rash decision maker, but it's seeing her grow from this naive, rash girl to somebody who maybe is thinking things through a little bit more. I think it's very realistic in that way, because if you figured out that you had these powers that you may not have known that you had, that you wouldn't exactly know how to use them in the best way right off. You would make mistakes. You would make rash judgments, especially, you know, being a hot-headed young girl. And so I really, truly, again, adore this book. I'm going to give it 4 stars, which is the same thing I rated it the first time, and I hope to continue on in the series sometime soon. With that being said, I wasn't very good at updating this vlog this week, but it has been super busy. But I'm very, 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 very happy to say that we're going to end this vlog here, and look forward to next week's. I'll be doing the same thing. I'm going to be playing the Chutes and Ladders style game with my book club. I've had just a great time playing this game, and I've read a lot of things, and so that's always wonderful. And I will catch you guys in the next one.